On May 2, 2011, a specialized team of U.S. Navy SEALs moved through a dark corridor in Abbottabad, ending the most exhaustive manhunt in history. The quiet end to that mission contrasted with the scale of the 11 September attacks, an event that redefined global security and the way the world viewed Islamic extremism. It leaves a central investigative question. How does a highly educated heir to a billionaire fortune, trained in economics and administration, become the architect of a global terror network? To understand the failure to prevent 9/11, we have to map bin Laden's psychological transformation, an evolution that was documented beat by beat in his classified intelligence timeline. Bin Laden's radicalization began in an environment of immense wealth. He was the 17th child of Mohammed bin Awad bin Laden, a construction magnate whose company held the exclusive rights to build mosques and religious structures throughout Saudi Arabia. After his father's death in 1968, the young Osama inherited several $1 million, a fortune that grew into tens of millions as the family business expanded alongside the Saudi royal family. At university, that wealth met a radical influence. He was mentored by Abdullah Azzam, a Palestinian intellectual who emphasized the duty of every Muslim to engage in a global, militant struggle to defend Islamic lands. By his early adulthood, bin Laden possessed a dangerous combination of traits: the limitless financial resources of an oligarch and the developing motives of a religious extremist. The 1979 Soviet invasion of Afghanistan provided bin Laden with his first theater of war. He used his personal fortune and family-owned heavy equipment to build roads, fortifications, and hospitals for the Afghan resistance. Working with Azzam, he co-founded the Mektab al-Qadamat, or MAK. The office served as a global recruitment and logistical hub, funneling money and thousands of volunteer fighters into the war against the Soviets. Over time, bin Laden grew dissatisfied with his role as a passive financier. He began to envision the creation of a more disciplined, elite military vanguard that he would train and command personally. In 1988, he split from the MAK to create a database to track these veteran fighters. He titled it The Base, in Arabic, al-Qaeda. When Iraq invaded Kuwait in 1990, bin Laden offered his al-Qaeda veterans to defend the Saudi kingdom. He believed his mujahideen were the only force capable of protecting the Holy Land from another invasion. The Saudi royals rejected him. Instead, they invited the United States military to establish permanent bases on Saudi soil. To bin Laden, the presence of non-Muslim troops near Mecca and Medina was an unforgivable betrayal of Islamic principles. His public attacks on the Saudi regime eventually became too loud to ignore. In 1994, the government revoked his citizenship and froze his assets, effectively making him a stateless dissident. He sought refuge in Sudan, where he used legitimate import-export companies as fronts. This allowed al-Qaeda to move goods and personnel across borders without government inspections.
At the time, intelligence authorities viewed him primarily as an exiled financier. They failed to recognize that the American military presence in the Middle East had weaponized his ideology, shifting his focus from regional defense to a direct war against the United States. Under international pressure, Sudan expelled bin Laden in 1996, driving him back to the lawless mountains of Afghanistan under the protection of the Taliban. From his new headquarters, he issued a series of fatwas. He moved past written threats, explicitly ordering his followers to kill Americans anywhere in the world as a religious duty. In 1998, he carried out that directive with the synchronized bombings of U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania. The attacks killed over 200 people and demonstrated al-Qaeda's ability to coordinate mass casualty events on a global scale. The 2000 bombing of the USS Cole in Yemen further proved the network's reach. By targeting a sophisticated naval vessel, al-Qaeda showed it can strike American military assets even in high-security environments. These attacks transformed al-Qaeda into a highly lethal terror machine. While alarms were sounding in Washington, the lack of a coordinated response gave bin Laden the time he needed to finalize his most ambitious and devastating plot. The plan for the 11 September attacks was a refinement of an earlier plot designed by Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. Bin Laden personally approved the targets and provided the funding to bring it to life. The logistics were staggering. 19 hijackers took control of 4 commercial aircraft, weaponizing them to strike the symbols of America's economic and military power. The human cost was unprecedented for a single terror event, resulting in the deaths of 2,977 civilians. The immediate reaction was a massive shift in U.S. policy. The passage of the Patriot Act and the declaration of a global war on terror signaled the beginning of a relentless campaign to dismantle al-Qaeda. The attack succeeded in provoking the very military response bin Laden had spent years trying to trigger. The resulting war in the Middle East lasted 2 decades and cost trillions of dollars, fulfilling his goal of forcing the United States into a direct, exhausting confrontation. For 10 years, intelligence agencies struggled to find bin Laden, assuming he was living in a remote cave system in the Afghan mountains. The hunt finally ended in a residential neighborhood in Pakistan. He had been living comfortably in a massive, multi-story compound just miles from a Pakistani military academy. By tracking a trusted courier, the CIA identified the location, leading to the precise execution of Operation Neptune Spear. Bin Laden was buried at sea to ensure his grave did not become a shrine for his followers. But his death did not provide a simple conclusion to the story. The military eliminated the man, but his radicalization of thousands of individuals left behind a decentralized ideological blueprint for terror. While the central base was gone, the movement he started remains a persistent threat to global security.